All right, welcome everyone. I am Jennifer Rodriguez with credit.org, and I am the Education and Community Outreach Coordinator. And I do want to thank again Thuy, Pham for being here today as our special guest speaker.
Thuy, Pham. I'm from the U.S. Department of Labor Employee Benefit Security Administration. Our office is located in Pasadena. We are part of a federal agency, part of the U.S. Department of Labor, and we are here to help the public, the workers in America understand their rights in employers' benefit plans, as well as educating employers in their fiduciary responsibilities. And I'm happy to be here today with Jennifer from credit.org during America Saves Week and partnering with the Inland Empire Saves campaign.
We're going to go ahead and talk about saving for the unexpected today. And we have several topics throughout the week, which I'll go ahead and let you know what those are towards the end of our workshop. But we thank you so much for being here with us today. So before we get started, I do want to let you know a little bit about our agency, credit.org. We are a credit counseling, a nonprofit credit counseling agency, and we are also a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. And we have been around since 1974. We were established in 1974. And what we do is we do financial education, and we also have financial counseling services. And I'll go ahead and go over those with you in just a bit. But our goal is simple and vital. Our goal is to improve the financial well-being of individuals and families by providing quality financial education and counseling. So again, just to tell you a little bit about our services, we have two different types of services. We have our debt services, and then we also have our housing services. For our debt services, we do have counseling education related to credit. We also have a credit report review. Anything related to debt and paying off debt, we have debt counseling and debt management programs. We also have the pre and the post discharge for individuals that are going through bankruptcy. And then we have student loan counseling. And along with all of the counseling services, we also have financial education as well. For the housing services, we have homeowners assistance, we have foreclosure prevention, pre-purchase counseling for those who are thinking of purchasing their first home and wanting to know, if they're ready for that next big move. We also have services for reverse mortgage counseling, rental counseling, and we also do a full 8-hour course for first-time home buyers where they receive a certificate after the completion of class, which they could apply to down payment assistance programs or any type of housing programs that that might be a requirement for. So again, just to tell you a little bit about what we're covering today, we're going to be talking about savings, but every time we talk about savings, it's very important that we also talk about the root of everything, which is basically budgeting, right? So a lot of us didn't really get much information when we were, going through our, education in high school, for example, and maybe only 12% of high school seniors actually got some useful information they could apply to their personal finances. And unfortunately, a lot of us, have relied on information from our family members to help us, understand finances a little bit better. But sometimes there's either a gap in communication or sometimes they don't have the best practices either. And so we sometimes, learn the hard way by making mistakes. And we really can't blame ourselves for that, because again, we don't know everything about finances. So I'm really glad you guys are here today because we're here to teach you, hopefully some, information you could definitely apply to yourself. Now, before you start, one thing you want to do if you are using, both your liquid assets, your income, and then also your credit cards, you want to basically stop borrowing. And the reason why you want to stop borrowing is because you really want to just kind of focus on how much money you have coming in and how much of expenses you have going out. And I think that helps you get a very clear picture of exactly how much you could afford month after month. So it's a really great way to get a clear picture. And at the same time, it's a very good way to not get yourself into debt anymore, like to, get in the hole. So that's going to be very important. So living on a cash basis, again, is going to be the best way to do it. Does that mean you can't use your credit cards? Not at all. It just means, you could use them and pay them off as you go. I think that's very important. So again, you don't start incurring any new debt, right? Getting a handle on your situation, you're going to have to put some work into this. And so you're going to have to sit down and look at your monthly bills, look at your statements, balance your checkbook, and figure out exactly what your finances look like. Now, the last step here would be to relax. And I know sometimes when it comes to looking at your finances, it's not the most, relaxing thing to do. But you have to take it one day at a time. Don't expect to get this, 100% on the first go. You're going to have to revisit your budget, make some adjustments, and continue to do that back and forth. And it really just kind of depends on what your life currently looks like. You might have some future expenses that are going to come up. You might have, a brand new baby in the household. So anytime your dynamic in the household changes, your budget is going to reflect that as well. And so those changes are going to be important for you to track. And again, just revisit the budget. So you just take it easy. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to get it right the first time. So what is a budget? The budget's also known as a spending plan. And it's basically a strategic tool that helps you understand where you are going to put your money before you even get it. So that's the plan, right? And I think that's a really great plan. It does empower you because now you are telling your money where to go, right? I know there's been times where sometimes we don't plan, as well as we want to. And sometimes we do stress out about money because we don't know exactly what to do or we didn't prepare well for it, right? So you want to get to that place where you're telling your money exactly where you want it to go. And that's why it's important to start your budget because again, you're going to be able to see, where your money is going. So a couple of things you need to know from the get-go is how much you earn, right? How much income you have coming in and how much you spend. So how much expenses, how much money you have going out. So tracking is going to be very, very important. One of the stories I always share is that for me, I think tracking was the best thing that could have happened because I was very sure of myself that I knew exactly what my income was, what my expenses were. And when I actually started using tracking sheets that we actually have here at our agency at credit.org, that's where I started to realize that I had leaks in my budget, right? So that's going to be very, very useful for you to use sheets or some way to actually track things down, right? Another thing too is knowing exactly what resources or what income you have month after month. So whether it's, your income from your employment, if it's maybe your spouse, if you're, sharing a space and you have a roommate, taking into consideration rent, any help with, any of the utilities and things of that sort, any side jobs or anything that you do, side gigs, and you're getting money for that, take that into consideration because again, it's money that's coming in. If you, get a tax return, that's not free money. That's actually something you've already worked for, right? So make sure that you also take that into consideration and then divvy that up into 12 months so you can get a nice average of how much, money you have towards, your monthly expenses. You could have government benefits, sometimes even unemployment, or even family assistance, right? Where family members are helping you out. Whatever the case is, don't forget to track all of those sources of income because they all count, right? Now, tracking your expenses, like I was mentioning before, that was something very helpful for me. We recommend you track at least 90 days, which is 3 months. And the reason why that's important is because you don't spend the same month after month. So, 1 month you could have, some sort of expenses. The second month, you'll notice that you have very similar expenses, but, another expense here or there that's maybe a little different. And I think by month 3, you get a really good idea of what your expenses actually look like, right? If you've actually made some efforts to reduce on any expenses, keeping track of that is very important as well. You could put everything on a tracking sheet. It could be something, if you're pretty old school like me, like writing things down is very useful. If you're very techie and you like to use Excel sheets because, that just organizes everything a lot better. You can do that too. Now they also have apps where you could just do things off your phone. And even if you go into your bank app or your bank website, sometimes they will also categorize the expenses for you. So whichever way is the easiest way for you and the best way for you, then go ahead and do that. Again, any way that you can track is definitely useful. We have a few tracking sheets on our website, credit.org. And here, for example, the one that's on your screen, you'll see that there are categories laid out. And then you also have a couple of columns that have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, which basically covers the whole entire month. And this type of tracking is very nice because you'll get to see when your expenses happen. So for example, the first of the month, that would be your rent or mortgage, right? So you would put that expense there. Let's say your car payments on the 10th or the 15th, right? So you would write that down there. And I think when you categorize and you track when these expenses go out, it is very easy for you to figure out what paycheck or what source of income is going to cover the expenses for that week or for those 2 weeks or for the entire month, right? So you don't have to fall behind on your car payment because it's due on the 10th and you're waiting for your check on the 15th, right? So this way you could better manage when your payments go out. So really, really great way to track it. There's a couple of other sheets that you could use, like this one, for example. It tracks all of your expenses, and then it has one column where it says, this is what I'm currently spending. And then there's another column that says, this is what I'm proposing to spend, right? So this is where you start doing a side-by-side comparison as to what you are currently spending and what you are looking to maybe reduce or eliminate altogether from your budget. And again, this is basically because you might have a particular financial goal. You want to put, money aside for emergencies, which is very important. So this is how you could better prioritize your financial goals and your needs, and be able to do a side-by-side comparison. So I think this is really good. Generally, when it comes to saving, we always recommend that you do at least 10%. And this is just your typical savings. So as soon as you get your income coming in or your paycheck, go ahead and pull 10% of that and then apply that for savings. Now, if you have certain goals that you want to go ahead and work towards, you have to first figure out, what type of goal it is and how long, it's going to take and how much money you're going to need for that. So the two very, very important things is knowing how much you're going to need and for how long you're going to have to save that for. If you don't have those two things, it's not considered a goal. It's considered a dream because it never happens, right? So this is why you have to be very specific with your financial goals. So if it's a short-term goal, it's going to be something that you'll be able to do within 12 months. And that would be, for example, let's say if we go on a vacation, right? And if the vacation is going to cost us $1,200, that lets us know that for the next 12 months, we're going to have to save $100 each month. And then at the end of the year, we're going to have $1,200 to go on vacation, right? A mid-range goal is a little bit different. That one's a little bit longer, anywhere from 2 to 5 years. So let's say if you're looking to purchase a car, if you're in a position where you could maybe save a pretty good chunk for a down payment, right? That could take you 2 years. Or if you're looking maybe to buy, a car that's maybe used, but it's new to you and that you could pay for cash, maybe that'll take you 5 years to save up for, right? So again, that would be a mid-range goal. You also have the long-term goals, and that's something that takes 5 years plus. So that would be, for example, if you're, saving towards retirement, a college fund for your children, maybe upgrades in your home, whatever it is. Okay, if those are goals that are going to take longer than 5 years, then that is considered a long-term goal, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our guest speaker, Thuy. So Thuy's going to go ahead and talk about balancing the budget now.
Thanks, Jennifer. Great information. I just want to follow up that goals and budgets are basically the same thing, right? You have to write it down. You have to know what you want, what you're seeking in order to achieve those goals. So, using those worksheets that Jennifer mentioned to itemize um, your income and your expenses and what you can increase or decrease, such as increasing your savings or decreasing your spending, it's really important, and it's so helpful to see it in writing because you kind of assume you know what you're doing with your money, but looking at it on paper or in a worksheet is so important. Um, So balancing that budget, the tracking it for 30 to 60 days just to so you can see the trend of where your money's going, right? Wants versus needs, know the difference. Um, so you want to look at your what your how to avoid your financial setbacks. You want to know the difference between good debt and bad debt. So good debt, wants versus needs. Good debt is paying for an education, buying a car so that you can get a reliable car so you can get to work, buying a house, which will continue to appreciate and have lots of value for yourself and your family. Those are good debt. Those are things that we have to buy, and we should. The bad debt, which is the wants versus the needs, the bad debt may be charging vacation on your credit card, or buying a bunch of clothes, or just going out and spending money on your credit card. Those things aren't bad. Those things are what we should do to make life palatable, right? To enjoy life. But the bad thing is that you put it on your credit card. So think about, do you need it? How did I get along without it? If I really want it, I should save for it and pay for it, living the cash way, like Jennifer had mentioned earlier. And try to be weary of advertising, because that's their goals, to get you to buy into the product that you may not have thought about needing and decide that you actually need it. So, it's a good practice to include your family in your discussion, so that you know that you meet your family's goals in your spending, and where your income would cover your family's needs. And the and that's the best way when you have a budget and you have a spending plan. You control your money. Your money doesn't control you. Your money controls you when you don't pay attention to your spending, and it just kind of, causes problems with cash flow or financial setbacks. So avoiding that is actually easier than um, it seems. So, getting a budget and balancing it, reviewing it constantly is a perfect way to get by that. Next slide, please. So now, if your expenses exceed your income, haven't we all been there? There are times when unexpected expenses come up and we didn't plan for it, like, the car breaks down, or the roof needs fixing, or some other household or medical problems happen. Um, you have to find a solution, right? Because you have to deal with it. Credit counseling, such as offered here at credit.org, can help you. It can help you balance your budget and figure out what high debt payments and what your priorities should be. Um, but remember, your saving is important. So, as much as possible, avoid digging into your saving, and keep it on track. Um, and saving, having the goal of having 6 months of expenses is really important. That's another goal that you can set for yourself. If you've got 2 or 3 months save and you need a total of 6 months save, set a goal to do that in the next year or so, and you can track your progress. You will be so happy to see your progress. And as Jennifer mentioned earlier, too, get a handle of your situation and relax. It's hard to. Financial situations are really, really not something that you can relax about. But, as you put in the effort to make this work for you and your family, you can see your progress and you can be so happy with what you're doing. And that's going to bring you some relaxation. So, increasing income and reducing expenses. Um, Here is good information too. Um, Increasing your income. If you need to, there's always get a hobby or a second job or a side gig that gets you a little bit of extra income to help pay down the bills, the debt, or to if you have no major debt, you can put all of that money towards your savings. Share your room, rent out a room, reducing eating out. One of the things that I love to kind of point out that I think people don't um, think about much because it's such a habit. Just consider if you have a habit of getting that fancy cup of coffee every day, that's probably about $5, right? If you do it every day, that's $35 a week and hundreds of dollars a month. And if you go, a couple of times on the weekend, that cup of coffee really adds up, and it takes away hundreds of dollars from your budget that you may not think about. So if you use the spreadsheet, the worksheet, and by the way, Department of Labor also has a worksheet to help you save. It itemizes your income and your expenses, and it's very similar to credit.org's information. So you can use both. They're very helpful. But when you get your expenses in writing, it's easier to see where you can eliminate or reduce some of those expenses when you see how much it really costs, what you're paying out. But and then your cable and internet phone bills, there's always a deal out there. So you can always shop for a better plan, a less expensive plan. So homeowners insurance, auto insurance, that may be an option as well. Just keep shopping, shop and buy the best product at the least cost. And that's another way to reduce your expenses.
Thank you so very much for sharing,
Sure.
Twee. So absolutely, when it comes to making the budget work, there's definitely a couple of things that you can do to work your budget, right? And just like Drew was mentioning, sometimes things will happen, and it could be your car breaking down, it could be you getting a speeding ticket. And I was sharing with her earlier that sometimes I catch myself or I catch someone else speeding, and I always ask them like, "Do you have money to pay for that ticket?" So you have to think about that, right? Because there's so many consequences, that are financially impactful. So, getting a speeding ticket, does that then increase your insurance as well? Sometimes, appliances don't work anymore, or you get sick, or there's just some extra expenses that happen that maybe you're not expecting, or obviously planning for because they're unexpected, right? So just planning for those things ahead of time, whatever that thing might be, is going to come in very, very handy for a lot of reasons, right? They have done studies where they looked into, savings and how much Americans actually do save. And a very, very large portion of Americans, millions of individuals, do not have $500 to cover, any, emergency that might happen, or that might put them at a bigger disadvantage if it doesn't get taken care of. So it's very important that we have some money set aside for these unexpected emergencies. And again, if you haven't gotten around that, again, just like we were saying, go back, look at your budget, rework the budget, see if there's anything you can kind of cut back on, reduce expenses on, because then that extra money that you have from making those extra little, steps, or taking those extra efforts to make a reduction on those expenses, you can take that money and put that towards your emergency savings. So that's going to be, very important to kind of focus on that and even make that a goal. Right. So again, we always say start with small amounts. You can definitely do that. Like she said, a $5 cup of coffee, that could be $5 in your savings account. It could be something very simple. It does add up. We recommend anywhere from 10 to 15 percent of your income to go into savings. That definitely does help. Cutting back on, a couple of things, maybe fast food, maybe just cooking at home is a little bit more affordable, right? Or instead of going to the movies, maybe, streaming something at home would be a little bit more affordable. So we're not saying off any fun, enjoyable things. But if there's any, ways that you can kind of make it fun, but maybe a little bit more affordable, I think that would be really, really good. Getting a savings account, sometimes it's important to set something that's very, intentional for savings. So if it's a particular savings account just for emergency savings, I think it would be very important just to open an account for that instead of just, mentally thinking, okay, whatever's in my checking, some of that's going to go for savings. You might tap into that and not even realize it. So I think having a separate savings account for that is very important. When it comes to retirement savings, retirement's very important too. But if we're talking about, little things that you can do right now to be able to put that money aside for, any unexpected expenses, and then, go ahead and resume your money, your retirement monies. You can go ahead and do that later. So I think it's very important to just kind of focus on, the smaller things right now. And then, if it's going to help you stop any contributions that you have going towards your 401k to bulk up your savings, then that's great. And then you can continue your contributions after that. So anytime you get a pay raise, right? Any birthday money, any tax refunds, anything like that, that's money you didn't really have, right? So you could put that aside for savings and, bump up or get you to your financial savings goal a lot quicker. So again, the emergency savings is very important. Generally, we recommend for you to have anywhere from 3 to 6 months of your total monthly expenses covered or set aside in one of those accounts. And like I said, it's not going to happen overnight, but it does, accumulate and add up. Every little dollar definitely counts. If you could push it from 6 to 12 months, that's even better, right? Then you'll have more time to focus on all of your expenses and anything you have going on, while you are actually trying to recover from some type of financial hardship, right? If you lose your job, if you're in the hospital, whatever it is, that will definitely give you some peace of mind to know that you're financially okay, right? Because you have that emergency savings in case anything ever does happen. So one of the things that we do as an agency, credit.org, we do spearhead one of the campaigns for America Saves in the Inland Empire and also in San Diego. And so we are promoting the Inland Empire Saves. And one of the things that we also do promote is, helping individuals learn more about saving and committing to themselves, right? So we always recommend that you make the pledge to yourself to say, you know what, I'm going to commit to myself that I'm going to, save X number of dollars to pay off my debt, to have an emergency savings, to apply to retirement, whatever it is. I think it's very important when you write things down, just like Thuy was mentioning, have something that you can actually see, something tangible, is very important. And when you make that commitment to yourself, that's one of the ways that you're actually writing things down, and you're committing to yourself. So I think that's very important. If you take the pledge, you can go to our website, inlandempiresaves.org, and you can take the pledge there. And one of the really nice things about making that promise to yourself is that you also receive a lot of really great information that's related to savings and sometimes even very particular to your particular savings, right? So they have a lot of really great resources. Everything is, to help individuals increase their savings so they don't find themselves in financial hardship if something unexpectedly does happen. So we do want to go over some resources. We have plenty of educational materials on our website, credit.org. You could also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, which is now X. And we also do have a blog. And again, all of our educational downloads, including the tracking sheets and budget sheets that we shared with you today, you will find on our website, credit.org. And of course, the U.S. Department of Labor, they also have a lot of really great tools that are related to saving and tracking your expenses and budgeting. And the link is on the screen. So if you'd like to, visit them there and have access to the PDFs that they also provide, I think that's a really great tool to have when it comes to budgeting and tracking your saving for unexpected expenses. All right, so that's all for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much to our guest speaker. And hopefully you'll be able to join us for our
Thanks,
next
Jennifer.
classes. We have our, the next one that's coming up is saving for major milestones, and that's tomorrow. And then we have another one coming up that's paying down debt is saving, and then also saving at any age, which is our last class on Friday. So hopefully you could join us for those classes. And I think that's all for us today. Hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.